what I wanted to tell you is, well, listen, it's a long story, but I can promise you that I had all the best intentions of getting sober from day one. You know, and I qualified for every anonymous program. That's the truth. You know, and I probably tried all the anonymous programs. But the thing is, there was no more human solutions for me. If there was, I'd have been sober in the 80s. If detox was the answer, I'd have been sober after the first one. It wasn't until complete desperation that I was able to crawl back in the rooms, and I remember being willing to go to any length of victory over this. I knew I was one of them. I had to concede to my innermost self. You know, and God orchestrated the rest. So, although it's a long story, what I can tell you is I've had the same sponsor for over 4 years. My sponsor's name is Eddie Pirro. He's 23 years sober, and he sat with me and we did big book study. I mean, he lives in New York, so it was on the phone every day. This is why. This looks like that. After time, he was able to start a big book study in New York, and they audio taped it for over a year. It's called BigBookFever.net. So this is the way that I was able to really study the steps and, you know, teach other people. We're in sponsorship training, right? The steps are not just for you. God uses all of our suffering and all of our pain and all of our experiences so we can comfort others. That's hard to grasp, right? It says in the big book, God comes to those that need and want Him. But we all need Him. We all need God. How badly did I want Him? That was the question. And there's conditions. Like every time you see the word if, right? You got to do something. God comes to those who need and want Him if we stay close to Him and perform His work well. Stay close to Him. Do 12-step work, right? I'm sorry. Stay close to Him. We pray and meditate, and it's not always comfortable, and perform His work well. And we're addicts. We're alcoholics. So what do we do when we perform His work well? We do 12-step work with others. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And, you know, I come up here week after week. Sometimes we do step series. Sometimes I back up. You know, I try a different approach. Always with the good intentions of getting you to spark your own fire. Right? There's always going to be one that we see the light bulb go off. And, you know, my sponsor would say, Gina, you're not a fire in a fireplace. You're a forest fire. And that applies to me. I'm on fire all the time. I'm in the emergency room. Right? We got to perform emergency surgery here. And where do you go after the surgery? The recovery room. And after the recovery room, some people go home. You know, I haven't gone home yet. I'm in the recovery room. That's where I work. That's where I stay. Okay? So, what I wanted to tell you today was, and now I forgot, because I have all this good stuff to tell you that we were going to talk about, and I'm like totally drawing a blank. But one of the things that I wanted to tell you was, which we always talk about, is building a strong foundation, right? And it's usually the emotions that are killing us, right? Fear, that's a big one. We have fear of abandonment, right? Fear of responsibility, fear of recovery, fear of relapse, fear of dying, fear of maybe AA, maybe fear of God, fear of trust, right? And it's always that fear of abandonment. You know, it makes us often push people away, right? This is how I was. But I love you. Like, how come you didn't hate you. Don't ever call me again. 2 days later, 2 weeks later, what do you mean you didn't call me? But you told me you hated me, don't put. I was lying. You should have known that. You know, and the more I loved and the more I loved, the more I would be like, I gotta get away from this crazy bitch. And that's the way my life was, you know? So I was, and my sponsor taught me this, fear, driven by 100 forms of fear. I was being driven, like take it for a ride. These things were controlling my life. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. Right? So if God comes to those who need Him, see, unfortunately for some, it's all about God. Like, I can't even apologize for that because I'm one of the last gaspers that tried everything. Everything. I have 3 kids by 3 different fathers. They're born in all 3 different decades. I've been married 5 times. I joined the service. I've lived in every state. I've overdosed. In New York, it's a felony, so they dump you out at the emergency room and drive, you know what I'm saying? And it was this that I was missing. I was always disconnecting from the very power that was saving my life every single time. So deep down there was a fundamental idea of God, but I conveniently pushed it aside and took credit for my own successes. Because, God, if you just saved my life, I'll never do that again. And He would, and then I'd get better, clean up, go to meetings, make a lot of friends, make great coffee, be the best greeter. You know, step 12, help people. But I was always disconnecting from the very power that was saving my life. Okay, so I will talk about God often. I call it God today, because for me it's not a higher power. It is the highest form of authority. Okay? So, God comes to those who need, which we all do, and want. And we have to meet these certain conditions. Now, you know, some of you might not understand, planting the seed is good, you know, because we want to bear good fruit. So later on you might say, oh, you know, I remember Gina saying something like that to me. I'm hoping it means something to you, because it didn't mean something to me for a very long time. It didn't. You know, the challenge is, and it is a challenge, it's a simple spiritual program. It's not very simple for some of us. We're complicated people for a simple program, right? Simple spiritual program, then you come in and you look at the 12 steps on the wall and you're like, oh my God, that's freaking Russian. I'm so out of here. Or, yeah, I did the first 3 steps, but it ain't a 3-step program. You know? So, it's a challenge to disconnect. I mean, really, we're firing ourselves. We can't be in charge anymore, right? Because the more I rely on myself, the more inadequate I realize I am. Does anybody else have that experience? Right? So it's always self that's defeating me. You know, like I'll point the finger at you. You stole from me, I hate this place, my roommate sucks, and then I got those 3 fingers pointed back at me. Right? Or, you know, we're waiting on an appointment to get in here, and like, oh my God, I wish I could just get in here. Then you get the interview, and you get in here, and you get a room, the stairway to heaven. 3 days later, this place sucks. The druggy buggy sucks.
Yes.
My roommate sucks. They stole from me. The kids up all night.
They ate all my food.
Miss Sonia sucks. Groups suck. You know, I don't get to go out. I can't smoke. You smuggle 300 phones, and they all get taken away. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So let me tell you, this is a very small opportunity, however long you're here. Some girls out there get 28 days. I'm pretty sure you guys have like a 6-month, 9-month minimum maybe. 10 months, whatever it is. It's an opportunity to jump on step work, because The 12 steps is a comprehensive plan to extinguish the obsession of the mind. Because it's this thing that wants us dead. Right? There's always one more attempt, one more failure. You know, it's the great obsession that somehow, someday, we're going to go back to controlling it and enjoying it. Or we're going to switch brands. Or we're going to be away from drugs long enough that we're going to go back and use successfully. Right? It's the insistent yearning. You know, it's demanding. It's always there. It doesn't take no for an answer. And it's heartbreaking. And the deception is moderation is going to be possible. I'll just smoke weed. I'll just do a 20 on a Friday night. $4,000 later on a Tuesday when you lost your job on Monday, right? And today, we know what's going on, right? People are dying. So if you're the hopeless variety, drunk or user, you know, one more means we're going to pull this structure down on our head again. Right? So we talked about this last week. Many times we've heard one is too many. Right? And 1,000, never enough. And why do they say this? What happens when we put one into us of anything? Alcohol in any form.
Wakes up the demon.
It's the allergy.
Phenomenon.
We kick off the allergy, and then we're obligated to continue using against our will, against our best intentions. We're slaves. We don't have any choices. We do what our master tells us. So it's really important that I came in and got a really good handle on this allergy. Okay, I have a bodily and abnormal reaction than normal people. If I'm allergic to strawberries or peanuts or shellfish and I eat one, I could break out or stop breathing. Good chance I'm not going to touch that again, right? Not so with drugs and alcohol. Because we're left with this obsession that somehow, someday, we're going to control and enjoy it. We're going to go back to a time when it was fun. To live life like we used to. Because life without drugs and alcohol sucks. Some people think. Right? What am I going to do now? Am I going to be like in a meeting every day for the rest of my life, bored and stupid and this is boring? Does anybody else feel like that? Like, what am I going to do now? I'm sober. We can't imagine life with or without alcohol and drugs. Is that true?